Hey, what's up, everyone? Lee Snyder, aka DFS Advisor, back to break down some more soccer. It is Tuesday evening, and I just finished doing my initial prep for the Wednesday Bundesliga showdown between Werder Bremen and Frankfurt. I think there's a few interesting notes and angles here that aren't immediately obvious about this match. So it'll be fun to go over that and talk about how we can potentially exploit some of the potential edges here. Before I do get started, I always forget to do this, but I just need to give myself a quick plug. If you are enjoying the videos and the content here, please do subscribe. Subscribers are basically the currency of YouTube, and that would mean the world to me if you did subscribe. And thank you to everyone who already has subscribed or left comments letting me know, their feedback on the content thus far. That is much appreciated. All right, let's get into the preview of this match and this showdown slate. So when, if you know anything about German soccer, Frankfurt is the team that you would probably think was the stronger side based on the evidence of this season. But nonetheless, this match is basically a coin flip. Frankfurt, a very, very slight favorite here, but both teams are plus money. Bremen is at home. But I was still a bit surprised. I kind of thought that Frankfurt might be like a half a goal favorite here. But I think this actually does make sense when you look at it a little bit closer. I always like to go to 538's match predictions when I don't feel like I have a great read on how the match might turn out. And I found it interesting that they do have Bremen as the slight favorite here based on their match predictions. If we look at them in the table, Bremen's near the bottom. Frankfurt's a mid-table team, but I think it's interesting if you look at Bremen's form, and I think that's why this match is a pick'em. So they lost the first match after the layoff, 4-1 to Leverkusen. Didn't look very good. And I think everyone kind of thought, okay, here we go. Same old Bremen. That was at the bottom of the table before the layoff. However, since then, they're undefeated. A win over Freiburg, a draw with Gladbach, who was a really strong side. And then they beat Schalke 1-0 last match. And the biggest thing that jumps out to me over those last three matches is they did not allow a single goal. So they've really tightened things up from a defensive perspective. And I think that's why, the line has them in a pick'em here, and why 538 is indicating that they actually have a better chance of winning this match. So something to look out for there. Form is a thing that cannot easily be quantified in soccer, but it often does make a difference, and that's what we're potentially looking at here. Now, contrast Bremen, who've allowed 0 goals in the last 3 games, with Frankfurt. They have a totally different style. In the 4 matches since they've returned, since the layoff, there have been a total of 20 goals in their games. So super high scoring. I don't think they've kept a clean sheet either. Let's see. Just a sec. All right. So since coming back, they have a 3-1 loss to Gladbach, a 5-2 loss to Munich. Okay, 2 tough teams. But then a 3-3 draw with Freiburg and a 2-1 win over Wolfsburg. So they've had plenty of goals on both sides in all their matches, have failed to keep a clean sheet here. So I think overall we're looking at 2 teams that want this match to go different ways. Frankfurt obviously doesn't want to give up goals, but they play a more attacking, open style and are going to try to score, while Bremen probably want to slow this game down, keep it controlled, and come out with a 1 or 2-0 win ideally. So I think in terms of, how this match plays out, it'll be whoever can kind of dictate their style of play. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're building lineups, especially GPP lineups. All right, let's talk about the actual players here. I think this is a perfect setup for Kostic. This guy is just a huge open play crosser from the wing, and in a game where Bremen is likely to sit back a little bit and make it hard for Frankfurt to get good chances. I think this presents an opportunity for Kostic to just hit the high end of his floor, which is anywhere from like 15 to 20 points, or even higher if we're talking about the high end of his floor, because he's had like 30 cross games. So Kostic is a really solid option here. And given the lack of other super reliable floor guys, he is going to be probably a lock in cash and optimal builds here, despite his price tag. So on the Bremen side, their kind of two best players in terms of combining floor and attacking upside are Rashica and Bittencourt. You're going to see that they both have the Q tag next to them. Both of these guys came off with injuries last match. Bittencourt came off at halftime, and Rashica came off in the 58th minute. So I guess the latest I've read is that both of them are expected to be okay, but it's certainly possible that we see either or both of them on the bench. So don't get too married to the idea that both of these guys will be in the starting 11. The other thing to think about here is maybe both of them do start, but end up coming off early if the injury flares up for them. Of course, this is all speculation, but just something to keep in mind that adds a bit of risk to each of them. Speaking of these guys, the set piece situation is kind of up in the air for Bremen right now. So Bittencourt had been taking the majority. Then last match, when both of them were on, Rashica took the first two corners, and then Friedel, who was a defender, took the third corner in the match. Bittencourt came off at halftime, and then Rashica came off in the 58th minute. Once Rashica was off, Friedel took the rest of the corners for the game. So I think the best we can surmise from that information is that if all those guys are on the field, we could see a Rashica and Friedel split. But of course, there's nothing saying that Bittencourt doesn't just start taking set pieces once again as well if he's on the field. So I guess all in all, my point here is that the set pieces are a little up in the air. And I'm not going to depend on getting them from either of these guys up here. But speaking of Friedel, people might go a little nuts here and not see, that the majority of these set pieces came in the second half when, both of his teammates were off the field. So he may be highly owned, but I think he's the lowest risk because of his price tag for getting set pieces. And then when you factor in that, Rashica or Bittencourt could come off early in this one, I think there is some nice equity there for Friedel in terms of his potential to take some corners in this match. If either of Bittencourt or Rashica do not start the match, then Friedel becomes a really attractive option because I think at that point he probably takes, like a 50% share. All right, let's go back to the top where we left off. Andre Silva for Frankfurt, likely to start here again at forward. He has scored in 3 of 4 matches since the layoff, so he's been in really nice form here. Of course, the thing you have to factor in is that the Bremen defense has been really solid. So Silva's not a guy I'd be looking at in cash, but great GPP upside. Kamada has started the last couple matches and scored in both of them, so another upside guy. A bit more floor than Silva, but still mainly, he's going to be goal dependent. He's creating some chances across here or there, drawing fouls, so he's doing a little bit on the side, but really, you're going to want a goal from him for him to pay off that price tag. Boss Dost actually has higher implied scoring odds than Andre Silva, which I don't totally agree with. They really should probably be equal in terms of implied scoring odds, but nonetheless, you're getting a $1,200 discount. It's possible that both he and Silva start, or it's possible that Dost starts without Silva. So he and Silva are kind of interchangeable in that regard. Moving down a bit here, Timmy Chandler and Torre. These guys both play on the right side as wingbacks or right-sided fullbacks. I think they should both have plenty of opportunities. Actually, both. Let me correct that. Only one of them is going to start because they play in the same position. But DK actually made it really easy for us because they're essentially the same salary, so you can just swap one in for the other. But either way, I do like whomever starts there because I do think they will have the opportunity to get forward plenty and sending crosses. If you're comparing these two, Chandler is a bit more of he's got a bit lower floor but higher upside due to goal scoring. And then Torre is a bit more consistent with his crossing and chances created, making him a little bit better of a floor play. But I think I'd be fine with either of them, whether we're talking cash or optimal or GPP. All right. Davy Klaassen is a guy that does a little bit of everything for Bremen, and he's been playing 90 minutes every game. So that's kind of the best thing I can say about him. Both goalkeepers are priced in the same range here. The thing that scares me about Trapp is that Frankfurt cannot keep a clean sheet to save their lives. And then you have Pavlenka, who's been an absolute beast with how strong they've been defensively. He excuse me, he hit over 14 points twice here, and then he got 12 due to the win and clean sheet bonus there. So he's been really solid. Obviously one theory is that Bremen continues to play really solid defense, and then we know Frankfurt will put a ton of shots on net. So I think there is definitely a path to Pavlenka having a big game here again, but I'm going to reserve that for GPP. Of course, he may actually be a little overowned when people see that game log. So if Frankfurt are able to break through, he might not be the best play. Although with the number of shots that they are capable of putting on net, he could give up a goal here and still get you 8 or 10 points, which is not bad at all. All right, moving down a bit. Hinteregger, 6K. This guy's a 6K center back, but he's got 8 goals and 1 assist in 26 appearances. He's really strong on set pieces. Again, not somebody I'm going to use in a cash build, but if you do want to pair him with the set piece taker for Frankfurt, it's not the worst idea. So we're talking Kostic or Sebastian Rode, perhaps. Not a bad pair in GPPs to get that goal and assist upside. Friedel I already touched on. not a bad price at 5,800. There's Road at 5,200. He has been taking a share of corners, but the knock on him is that he is a defensive-minded player playing centrally, so the upside and floor is not necessarily there because he's not in a wide position crossing an open play. But in a game where, I think Frankfurt probably will have more of the ball and will be creating plenty of chances, I think he has a chance to get involved. And so I think it's a fair price tag for him at 5,200. Josh Sargent, an American player, by the way, 4,800 is likely to start at forward here. That is affordable for a forward, certainly. But, go take a look at his game logs. In his last 3 starts, he has just 1 shot. So not what you want to see out of a forward. He has been drawing a lot of fouls, but probably not someone I plan to have a ton of exposure to here. Of course, he'll probably pop up with a goal now that I've said that. Gazanovic or Gazanovic, I'm going to go with 4,400. He's started a couple matches, I think 2 out of the last 4 since the return. Basically as like a false 9 or central attacking midfielder. I don't think he's done a whole lot here yet. Let's just see. Yeah, 4.2 and 5.9 in his starts, but he put some shots on goal. So not a great floor, but again, for 4,400, not terrible either, and he's got some upside. So he's an interesting one to look at here, especially in GPP. Let's see, that probably, once we get down here, we're just looking at center backs for the most part. Although there is a chance that Davy Selk here at 3,600 could start in a forward role if Rashica or Bittencourt miss out here. So something to keep an eye out on here. So I think the thing that sticks out to me most is as you're going through this player pool, like there's just not a lot of guys where you're like, okay, I feel really good about playing them, which I think is all the more reason why Kosic is and should be really highly owned on this slate. The one other thing I will mention is that I did go through and project some of the attacking stats here as well as expected goals. And this is weighted by defensive strength. So if we're looking at it like this, Frankfurt is the clear favorite in terms of expected fantasy points here. They're also expected to have more goals, although I don't know how much I'm going to buy into that just because of how strong Bremen's defense has looked. But I think certainly in GPP, like if Frankfurt can steal an early goal, then the game has to open up for Bremen, and Frankfurt could pour it on, and you end up with like a 3-1 or 4-2 scoreline, which is not something that maybe a ton of people are looking at because they're going to see Bremen's recent form not giving up any goals. So I think I will build some lineups around that kind of game flow, and that's what you want to do. You want to think about the possible game flows and then build your GPP lineups around the game flow and what you expect might happen. All right, that covers it. Good luck out there. Hope you found the video helpful, and I will be back before the weekend with some more preview videos of the 4-game slate and some additional showdowns potentially if they pop up. All right, thanks for watching, and see you next time.